So where I brought us to today is one of my earliest childhood memories, which is around 4 years old. I grew up in this place. It was called Hanover. And if you notice, like, Hanover is right here. It's all of these different townhomes. It goes up the block this way, down the block this way, and then around. But literally right to your left, the next block over is where the freeway's at. So this right here is, again, growing up in, this was been the early 80s, mid 80s, that I stayed here. And it was like a community of black people who lived right here. Myself, my family, my father's sister lived right in here. And then a lot of people end up becoming community moms, community aunts, community grandmas, community uncles, and community grandfathers was right here. And I wanted to bring us here because literally this is one of my first childhood memories that I can think of when I think about experiencing the love of like black folks in Rondo.
It was a great experience, man. Looking back as a little country boy with a deep southern drawl, you know, orange, purple, you know, the community made sure that I understood that that accent wasn't necessarily from here, but they embraced me. So, you know, it was in my opinion, it was just a great, healthy environment, man. Like with all the challenges, you know, we were impacted by the 84 drug boom, right? And we got here in 87, so everything was climbing up. You know, we had a few trouble spots, but we also had, I remember, the vibrant black economic infrastructure, Mr. Tillman's Market, Mrs. Fletcher's grocery store, and then the black-owned drugstore that was right next to Mrs. Fletcher's. That was our ecosystem.
I'm so community-oriented. It was beautiful. My childhood was beautiful. It was dope. Everyone knew everyone. Neighbors knew everyone. I mean, Aurora, I grew up on Aurora. So from Aurora, I'll go as far as Aurora and Western, all the way down to Aurora and Lexington. That was dope. Everyone knew each other. Somehow, some way. Either parents knew each other, the kids knew we all played outside. We played till the lights came on. And you gotta be forced. I was one of those kids that used to get the spanking because I was hard-headed, trying to stay out longer than what I needed to be, but. So we sitting in Hanover. Right behind us is the townhomes of 370F and 371. Myself, my mom, dad, two older brothers, one older sister, one older brother, and my younger sister live in 370F. Our next door neighbor was a woman named Miss Easter, and she was the lady with all of the snacks. And so I think she worked for General Mills or something like that, but every day she would come over and give us like different snacks and stuff that she would have from work.
That was our ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? As a little young, wide-eyed Webster magnet student, it was Mr. Tillman that would put me to work in the parking lot of a black-owned grocery store because he knew we looked hungry enough that we might five-finger discount something. So to get ahead of that, he was letting us know, hey, this is your community. You ain't got to come in here like that. Go out there, pick up this trash on this lot, come here after school, and you can pick whatever 3 snacks you want. Now, I don't know legally what the labor laws were around that, but you can guarantee that I was going to be at that store after school, picking up and getting my 3 snacks and then heading to the house. So for me, it was a great neighborhood, man. Met a lot of lifelong friends.
It was such a community base. It's so community oriented. I mean, my childhood was great, man. I mean, I can't say any more about it. I mean, Rondo, the post-Rondo era, that's kind of where I was in. And some of the old flavor that was the black excellence, the black businesses, we still had a little bit of that when I was growing up. So having that, having a community base, having a family, the foundations, your neighbor treated you just like their own child mentality, I experienced that. Being active, being busy, not playing too much on the video games like our kids today, but being outside and enjoying each other's company. I mean, we had organized football leagues outside of the rec center. So, you know, we used to play every Sunday. If it wasn't football, it was baseball. If it wasn't baseball, it was kickball. If it wasn't kickball, we played tag, you know, hide and go seek. We had rubber band guns. We had WWF cardboard belts, you know. So I lived here, and when I lived in this space, I was 4 years old, and it's one of the first memories I have of Black Rondo and community. So one of my daily schedules at 4 years old was I would get up, particularly like on a weekend or something like that, and I would leave. After having breakfast or something, I'd leave, go down to my aunt's, which was about 2 or 3 doors to the left, and I knock on her door, and she would be there, invite me in, we'd sit. Most of the time I got fed, and so I would eat, hang out for an hour or two, and then I would leave and travel about another 10, 15 doors down, and I would meet with this woman. Her name was Mrs. Henderson, and Mrs. Henderson was an older black woman who was like, she was like a grandmother to everybody. And so Mrs. Henderson was the woman who had the hard candy. You come in there, knock on her door, say hello, and she'd go in the little candy dish, give me some hard candy, and then she would just sit and talk, tell me old stories about her growing up. She had a son or grandson that also lived in the community too. Fortunately, that ecosystem I grew up in is part of the reason that I don't take any shorts when it comes to what we're actually entitled to going forward. Because what I learned is all those families that were embracing me were also remnants of the old Rondo community here. And so a lot of those families that brought me in and showed me, you know, the Rondo way, they literally were the people who were displaced but still had that idea in the vision of what it used to be. And so they were trying to instill that into these little young rambunctious kids, myself included, and I really appreciate that. So for me, it really sparked that sense of pride, that sense of community, that sense of belonging, and that sense of duty. So I carry that with me today. When I'm around my young black brothers and sisters, I try to make sure that I'm adding to whatever wisdom they need to have in order to function in life, hearing them out and trying to help them get ahead of some of these challenges. You know, we had our liquor stores, we had certain business entities that were for adults and whatnot, but because everyone knew everyone, even the winos knew who you was and knew your parents. And so, you know, you'll walk down the street, one of the guys was, hey, at the time my dad's nickname was Blood, not gang affiliated, but so they like, hey, Young Blood, yeah, that's Young Blood, son. So it's like everyone knew everyone, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and the very dark. But for the most part, everyone held each other at a high standard and loved everyone and held everybody accountable, and that was the beauty of my childhood. And so I would sit over there for about an hour or two, and then around 12 o'clock, noon, I would make my way back home for lunch. And I did this, like I said, most weekends without a phone call, without coordination, without fear of safety or anything. And I was just loved on. And this was like a tradition like that all of the kids in this townhome community was able to do. You just go from door to door, hang out with people. The doors was always open, and you knew people on a first name basis. And one of the big things that you always experienced was you experienced good stories, you experienced food, and you experienced love. And so this was like one of my earliest memories of what it was like to be a black child growing up in the Black Rondo community.